one word, 4 syllables, oligarchy, right? That is what's happening here. It's going to be the tightening up of, but here's the thing, the people on Reddit, in the subreddit, they understand that. They're not dumb investors. They are using their money to show what a farce the whole system is.
This is going to give our audience.
This is the same thing that made people vote for President Trump.
We have some breaking news right now on what has turned into the soap opera and saga of the markets right now, and that is the story of GameStop. The news to bring you right now is that Melvin Capital Management, this is the hedge fund that had shorted this company, that had effectively been attacked by an army of investors trying to push up and press up the stock of GameStop along the way. Melvin Capital is now out of the stock. They got out of the stock, from what I understand, yesterday afternoon. I just got off the telephone with Gabriel Plotkin, who runs that firm. They've taken a rather huge loss. I do not have the full number on what that loss looked like. As was reported yesterday, both Citadel and Point72 have infused something on the order of close to $3 billion into Melvin Capital to try to shore up.
Yeah, that was, by the way, just Andrew Ross Sorkin, just in the back of the envelope, they lost over $3 billion. Raheem, before we bring Dan David back in, that's Andrew Ross Sorkin on CNBC this morning, CNBC having a meltdown. By the way, this is about a populist revolt in the capital markets by this army of Reddit guys that have been, and then he says attack, they would say actually supporting the stock in the company, right? Not attack.
Right.
Raheem?
He says attack. Listen to the language that these people are using. And the best thing that I saw this morning was the news that the NASDAQ was suspending trading on certain things from this morning. And then somebody replied to it saying, yeah, because now the wrong people are gambling and showing this thing up to be such a farce, right? The good news is I'm up $30 on my stonks today, right? So we got a free lunch. Yeah, Terry and I, we go to lunch.
So look, I think Raheem's right. Where this leads, though, is where I'm worried. He's right. They're mad about the wrong people playing in the stock market. So where I see this going is if they crash this thing and it causes a lot of damage, they're going to now start restricting everyday average Americans' ability to buy and sell and trade stocks.
Dan David, Gabriel Plotkin, I think we should refer him as the former head of the hedge fund, Melvin Capital. By the way, playing with pension fund money, institutional money, that's the money of the deplorables. Walk us through quickly, he called it a soap opera. A big hedge fund institutional investor starts shorting, which means you're betting that the stock goes down, that the company's going to be in worse shape, or they're lying about whatever. And you had this kind of Reddit sub-chat that got in there, and all these Pepes started buying the stock, attacking the stock, driving the stock up. So what's your problem with that? Isn't that just the way capital markets work? I mean, you're one of the legendary shorts in China. Every time your name's mentioned, the CCP starts to go through meltdown every time you get into a Chinese company.
Look, listen, I've been called a financial terrorist. Everything I do is attacking a stock, and whatever hyperbole they want to throw at it, that's fine. What I'm saying here is, look, this is circular. Our government, cannot raise interest rates. The money's all going to continue to go in the stock market. People who don't have the wherewithal and understanding are going to continue to invest. It's going to come down, and the government is going to adjudicate this on the side of Melvin Capital. They're going to start regulating, as this gentleman said, against the individual investors. They're going to put policies in place to stop them, and they will not restrict the investment banks as they never have. They've gotten bigger. They're not going to restrict the government. They're going to restrict the individual.
Hang on. For a guy like you to say that, it's one thing for the head of the American Principles Project, Terry Schilling, to say that, who's yelling over his cup of coffee here. It's another thing for Dan Davis, one of the most sophisticated investors. Are you actually think that the government's not going to step in and try to somehow limit the ability of individual investors to get into stocks, to get into call options, to get into the ability to short? Are you saying that? That's where you think this heads?
I know for a fact the SEC is discussing it right now. They are talking about it right now. I wouldn't be surprised if our Treasury Secretary spoke on it, Powell spoke on it today, to some degree, acknowledging that it is a problem. I know this. When it comes to funds, mutual funds with, as you said, pension money in them losing, and what they call a Reddit army winning, the government's going to adjudicate on the side of that mutual fund, that investment bank. They always have. It's a mistake, but they will tamp down on the freedom of speech. This is the way we're going. And this is a bad thing for me, you, and everybody else. And that's why I would like a more informed kind of investing from these Reddit users. I'm glad more people are involved in the market.
Hey, how about,
really,
by
really
the way, how about in a free country, how about this as far as informed goes? Hey, I buy video, I buy games from the thing. I like the company. I just want to buy the stock, right? How about as you know, 90% of the people invested in stocks don't really understand internally what's going on or what's the dynamic in the industry. They just happen to like the stock. They like the company. They see something on CNBC. They buy into it, right? This happened during the, so why do they have to have some sort of, why do they have to have a license? Why do they have to go to Harvard Business School?
I think we need to have a serious conversation with the American public about the difference between $1 billion and $1 trillion. And when you start throwing $7 trillion at the market in under a year, it's a massive amount of money. You can stack that on top of each other and you can go to the moon and back, literally, physically. And that kind of liquidity has caused a huge problem when you can't put it in anything but the stock market. Not the bank, not real estate, not anywhere else.
Okay.
And that's where people sitting at home are doing this. And 6 months from now, when people are back to work, this is going to be a big hangover, a big problem. And I'm worried for them.
Okay, I want to have you back on, Dan. You're one of the sharpest minds on Wall Street. I want to have you back on. We do this in more detail. Dan, David. Dan, how do people follow you during the day? I got to get you back on and talk about this.
I have my own podcast. You've been on it. You did a great show, wolfpackresearch.com. And on Twitter, if I'm not banned for even speaking to you, it's at Wolfpack Reports on Twitter.
Thank you, brother B. Have you back on.